All right, thank you for joining us today. My name is Tom Parisi. I'm Vice President of Tellabs Government Sales, and we are excited to be a sponsor for the 2020 AFCEA Signal Conference. This is a short video to talk about passive optical networks for the U.S. Army. A couple ways to engage with us today. First, we're providing a link here for some free training for network planning and design of passive optical networks. We are offering them in July and August. We'll be adding dates after that. So please consider registering on this link. Also, a great opportunity to talk with us directly via the live chat link. So please encourage you to do so. We're looking forward to meeting you. And lastly, we've posted videos and white papers that you can download today to learn more about passive optical networking. As part of the conference, the Army invited us to discuss some of the problem statements that our solutions address. So our technology is called passive optical networking, and there are two particular problem statements that we'd like to talk about today. So first is modernizing related to the cloud, right? A lot of different issues here. One in specific is that we hear from customers, they're very concerned about latency. With more and more traffic going to the cloud, are we going to see delays, particularly when we move to things like Office 365? Are we going to be sitting there waiting 10, 15 seconds for things to refresh? So you'll see how we address this problem statement. The second problem statement is, as the Army modernizes, how do we do so in a secure way, right? Very concerned about insider threats, concerned about malicious intent, worried about stolen credentials for PCs, worried about stolen credentials for networking devices, right? So shown on the right there, a picture of a network device. It's very common to have thousands of networking devices on a military base. So these are the two problem statements that we address. I'll talk a little bit about our solution and the associated benefits. So along with the first initiative, passive optical networking uses this concept of software-defined PON profiles. And what that does is it provides a SLA per user. That way you have a guaranteed bandwidth from the user all the way to the core of the network. So it basically eliminates any concern about, hey, is there latency in the base area network or the local area network? Because of this profile, it guarantees that you have the bandwidth all the way to the core, and then lets you worry about the WAN and the firewalls as being the potential issue. The second part of our solution is how we we modernize the network in a secure way, right? So some of the benefits are we lower the total cost of ownership. This includes lowering costs up front, lowering cabling costs, lowering power costs, dramatically lowering operational costs, eliminating the need for licensing, and really dramatically reducing the operational costs, the number of people that are required to operate the network. We take all the complexity out of networking, right? So that goes along with simplification. We believe that passive optical network gets rid of the dozens of protocols required to operate the network and really simplify things. And then lastly, we reduce the attack surface. So again, instead of having 5,000 or 6,000 IP addresses associated with networking devices on a base, we reduce that to just a few, right? Just to a few controllers, passive optical networking controllers versus all these devices at the edge. So those are the benefits at a high level. I really want to encourage you again, the free training. We've learned more about the technology. Click on the live chat, talk with us now, and again, the videos and white papers. But before we leave, I just want to go into a little bit about the technology. So passive optical networking, it's a better way to build and operate networks. Specifically, what is it? It's a base, campus, or building solution. It can be deployed just for a single building, or it can be deployed across an entire military base. This technology was originally deployed for networks for Verizon Fios and was deployed by the millions, so it can scale really large. And where is it deployed? It's deployed in the telco environment, it's deployed in the enterprise markets, but specifically in federal, it's deployed in DoD, Intel, and civilian communities. Why are folks deploying optical LAN, passive optical LAN? Like we mentioned before, it simplifies networks. It makes networks more secure, and it does that by reducing the number of vulnerability points, or specifically the number of IP addresses associated with switches. And then lastly, it dramatically lowers the total cost of ownership, both CapEx and OpEx. And what's new about passive optical networking? Why is this a different way? Really, there's two main components. One is that it's based on this passive fiber concept and using passive optical splitters. And then secondly, it uses a form of SDN, software-defined management, where a controller is controlling devices at the edge, and those devices at the edge don't have IP addresses. Rather, they log into the controller. And this is proven technology, right? It's part of the DoD UFC. It's approved by DISA JITC. It's on the UCAPL, endorsed by VIXI, TIA. Specifically for the Army, MITRE has done a numerous amount of studies. And lastly, we were recently included in the DoD Digital Modernization Strategy document, which we have here on this next slide. So it's included in Appendix A of the Modernization Strategy as a recommended technology to consider, and they specifically list the benefits of passive optical networks. So we want to keep this short. Again, please consider training. Consider chatting with us now by clicking on the chat link, or feel free to download videos, white papers. Again, thank you. Hope you guys have a great 2020 FCA Army Signal Conference.